Welcome to Wise Minds, Wild Hearts, the podcast for heart-led high achievers just like you, ready to take inspired action and achieve true alignment. If you're craving deeper influence, greater impact, and a life that genuinely lights you up, you're in the right place. I'm Kip Clark, former academic turned entrepreneur, transformational coach, elite athlete, and shameless fountain pen addict. Here, you'll learn how to leverage the beautiful wisdom of your years with the wild passion that drives you forward. Together, we'll break through those limiting beliefs, unlock the power of your subconscious mind, and create a life that aligns with your soul's desire. Ready to create the kind of impact you've always dreamed of? Let's do this. Hey there, welcome back. I'm glad you're here today because there's a really interesting question that's come up with some of the people I've been working with, most recently with one. And the question is, do I need to have it all figured out before I get started on this goal of mine? So there's this client that I was working with recently, and she wanted to create a charity. She saw a need in her community and she wanted to help. But she was stuck and she hadn't been doing what she knew she could be doing to bring it to life. So as you may be realizing here, I love working with high achievers. She's definitely a high achiever. I love working with people like that who have a big goal to help them make it happen. And so when I see someone who's not taking action, I know there's something there that needs uncovering, something that's blocking that person's progress. So it turns out, after we'd been talking for a while and digging into what's been going on, she was feeling that she couldn't take action because she didn't have it all figured out yet. She didn't have everything kind of set for how it would go. And she was also struggling a bit in her personal life with the very thing that she wanted to support others with through her charity. And so she was kind of feeling like a fraud. Her thoughts were, well, who am I to be doing this for others when I haven't even figured out my own stuff here? So there are three things I wanted to share with you about this because they may be the very things that are holding you back on taking action on something too. I know they've shown up for me at times in the past to the point where I too was not taking action on something I wanted to create. So I'm speaking from experience here when I say I get it. I understand. So the first point I wanted to make is this. People have a much harder time relating to someone who appears to be perfect, who appears to have it all figured out, someone who never seems to make mistakes. They may be aspirational figures for us in a sense, but they tend not to be people we really connect with because we don't see ourselves in them. There's a gap there. So if what you're trying to do is create, is to connect with people, you want to create connection with people on some level to help them somehow make things better for them, you'll gain greater trust faster, and your message, whatever it might be, will land more powerfully if they can see themselves in you right now. Now, Brené Brown, for example, she's done some unbelievable, groundbreaking research and built her career really around the concept of vulnerability. And she's talked a lot about the power of connection as the reason why we're all here. In her mind, without connection, we lose the sense of purpose and meaning in our lives. So when we attempt to hide our perceived imperfections, well, first of all, that's exhausting over time, but we also lose the chance to connect with others on a deeper level. So if you're able to say with integrity to another person, I know what it's like to struggle with this. I've been there and I've figured a few things out that I'd love to share with you. You'll naturally create a connection to that person who is experiencing the same thing in his or her life. But if you're someone who projects an image of always having it all together, never making a mistake, never struggling with anything, that kind of persona actually creates distance between you and those you want to serve. And I'm also thinking of J.K. Rowling here. she's the creator of the Harry Potter books, and she's worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 billion, give or take. And so now today we see this beautifully coiffed, elegantly dressed, successful woman who seems to have it all, but she's also been very open about how messy and how imperfect her journey was towards her success. All the rejections she had, all the struggles she faced. And I remember reading about all that she went through to write that first book and get it published years ago. And it was the first time in reading that and reading about her challenges and her struggles. That was the first time I had a thought in my mind, maybe I could be an author one day too. Because it was as if she had demystified the process. She kind of drew back the curtain and revealed how totally imperfect the whole thing actually had been for her. Now, her story actually leads me to the second point I want to make here as well, which is around energetic alignment versus struggle. You definitely don't have to have everything figured out ahead of time, but you do need to be aligned energetically with what you're trying to create. And this is what I mean by that. When you're trying to create something, whether it's you're looking for a new career or a new venture, or you're bringing some big goal or project into being, but you're doing that from a place that isn't true to your experiences, or it's misaligned with your values, it's going to be a lot harder. So you've got to be clear on your vision for what you want to create, no question. But you've also got to be doing this because it's meaningful to you and it's a great fit with the things that are important to you. It's a great fit with your values. If you're trying to make something happen because someone else thinks you should, or you feel a sense of obligation around it, that's just not going to create an energetic alignment, and you'll struggle. So J.K. Rowling, not only did she hold a crystal clear vision of what she wanted to create, she also held firmly to her values of courage and resilience, love, of social justice, and so on. So she was operating from a place of alignment, and that's what kept her moving forward, even during those struggles, even when everybody around her was doubting her. Now, there's also tons of research around positive psychology and quantum energy work and so on, which suggests that when you operate from a place of alignment and authenticity, you're also more likely to experience that flow state. So that's the state where whatever you're doing feels almost effortless, even though it might be challenging, and it's deeply satisfying and fulfilling at the same time. So the alignment part means your actions, your intentions, your goals, thoughts, etc., they're all a reflection of your true self, which is the embodiment of your beliefs and your values, your passions, and your purpose. So there's this deep congruence between what you're doing and what you value. There's no pretense. There's no facade of perfection. There's just you expressing your core values through your thoughts and words and actions. Now, if you're like me, you'll know right away if you're operating outside that authenticity or that alignment. Your body will tell you right away. You may feel a tightening in your gut, or maybe the solar plexus, or your shoulders will feel it, or maybe your jaw will tighten up. However, your body tells you that something's off, know that you can trust it 100% of the time. The challenge for us in this is that we've gotten pretty skillful over the years at ignoring the messages our bodies send us. We had it totally dialed in as kids. Our body's signals were much more present to us then. But over time, the experiences we've had, or the messages we've received from the adults in the room, or what we observed in the authority figures around us, that all taught us to ignore what we're really feeling. The message was just to suck it up and get on with things. So that's what we learned to do. We learned to ignore this incredibly reliable and efficient mechanism for telling us something is off. So this is an invitation for you here now to get back to trusting your instinct, trusting your gut regarding how your soul wants to express itself. And then finally, the third point I want to make here is to emphasize that you definitely do not have to have it all figured out before you begin. In fact, Not having everything figured out is actually much, much better because it allows for flexibility and creativity and growth. If you start off with a rigid plan, you say, this is the way I'm doing it, this is how it's going to go, come hell or high water, you'll miss out on insights and opportunities and, frankly, magic that arises along the way. So this particular phenomenon has been huge in my own life because I used to be the kind of person who didn't feel good or settled about creating something if I hadn't figured it out ahead of time exactly how it was all going to go. And this still shows up for me from time to time. This will still show up. So it's work that I continue to do. But invariably, looking back, whenever I had that mindset, I would experience more challenges, more turbulence, more stress really than when I finally learned to hold on to the how of my vision more lightly. So I was really clear about the what and the why, what I wanted to do and why, but I learned to let go of the how. And then when I was open and curious about how things could go and flexible enough to adjust or pivot when that was the best thing to do, I experienced so much more magic with the things I was trying to create. And I've also been learning to accept the stumbles and vulnerabilities that come with the inevitable failures along the way. Failures, I put that in air quotes, though that was hard at times, and it's something I continue to play with. Again, J.K. Rowling, she's such a beautiful role model for this. She's spoken about her perspective on failure as the means by which she was able to just strip away everything that was non-essential, and it created something that was much more impactful. So when we learn to see failure, again, failure in air quotes, when we learn to see that as a beautiful and generous lesson, we free up all that harsh energy that needs to control everything in order to try and prevent it. And then our growth and our success skyrocket. So the key takeaways today, 3 of them here. First of all, people relate much better to someone who's imperfect. So don't worry about perfection and just get on with it. Second, alignment with intentions, with our words, our actions. Aligning those with our values is essential for unlocking our full potential and moving forward with confidence and clarity on that goal. And then finally, it's okay not to have everything figured out from the start. And in fact, it's so much better when we don't. Okay, that's it for today's episode. As always, I want to leave you with this question. What's one thing you could do to move the needle on your next big goal today? See you next time. All right, my friends, that's it for this episode. If this has been helpful to you, let me know. I love to hear about all the positive changes you're making in your life. And if there's someone you know who might benefit from hearing this message, please share the love, my friend. See you next time on Wise Minds, Wild Hearts.